Jeremy, welcome back to the Slowest WAAAGH, where we are playing Tzeentch. This is turn 57, and the war with Naggarond is wrapping up to a mostly satisfactory conclusion, aside from some vulturing and some unfortunate losses here or there, but generally pretty good. We are running up blood. We complete blood 5 and blood 6 this turn. We don't really care about much going on in the lower tiers of blood. There's one or two things that we're like, maybe this will work for us. Just kind of depends on the situation. But primarily, we are just trying to race up towards vampires, I think specifically because they can be useful for us with both high death and high blood to be able to mix in to some of our armies. And just for the future potential of if we have a good enough amount of them, they can make really good raiders as we move forward in the game. So, we'll see how that all works out. Bunch of site searching and a couple of other things mixed in, so let's go through this. Auspex, Augury, Harspex, Bowl of Blood, Arcane Probing, Voice of Apsu, Gnome Lore. We find an Earthblood Seepage in the Ensorcelled Swamp, which is former Naggarond territory. This is Khorne putting up Blood Vortex, which has some pretty dire implications later on. Or I say later on, but just in general. So, something to really consider and keep in mind as we move forward, but nothing we can really do about it. Is what it is. Dark Knowledge, nothing. We summon another Daemon Prince. Apsu, Gnome Lore, Rainbow, Bowl of Blood, and then some minor searching by H1s to see if we can find anything there. Not an especially good blood hunting turn for us, but, we're not at that point where we're really trying. Right when we get to vampires, which we're almost there, but we're not quite there. When we get to vampires, the intent is to get to the point where we can do a vampire every turn. We're definitely going to have to ramp up from here, but with our first couple of vampires, that'll be easier to do than just our Blood 1 cultists, So, might have a couple of vampires that we start off with blood hunting and go from there. And, of course, we are still finishing off Naggarond, so we've got some assassinations to deal with. First assassination coming in, and it snags a Marauder Chieftain. Let's see if we get lucky. Duke it out, boy. Ooh, well, that's a hard no. That's a hard no. Yike. Big yike. But this is an even bigger yike. So this guy catches a Sorcerer Lord with an Endless Bag of Wine and a Clam of Pearls. Catches a Sorcerer Lord sleeping. And no bodyguards or anything like that. I think this is just sheer mistake. I think there had been a point when I moved on to Naggarond where I had a bunch of bodyguards on important individuals like Sorcerer Lords. But then when I won the battle on the cap, I then kind of when I was redistributing the armies to split it in half and go after multiple fortifications, I redeployed those bodyguards elsewhere. And even, honestly, at the end of the day, most of the bodyguards I was using were just marauders, so it's unlikely they would have, one or two marauders would have won against a Cainite assassin. But they definitely might have evened the playing field, because as it is... Yike. Wait, did he one-shot that guy? What happened? I know he's got more than... Yeah, he's got 14 HP. What happened? 7... What are we looking at here? 40 death poison! So we see the 7 points. 42 death poison. Holy fuck. Do Sorcerer Lords, most of my demons and things like that have, they do not natively have poison resistance. So this hurts, right? Like, at the end of the day, you know, losing a Sorcerer Lord here or there is not the biggest deal. And this is not a Sorcerer Lord that is, you know, like carrying super expensive equipment or is crazy important. I think this Sorcerer Lord was honestly just doing like anti-magic or doom or something like that, right? So not the biggest issue, but I mean, this is still a slow to recruit, you know, very expensive mage that could be valuable. It sucks to lose this. You can add it to the pile of unfortunate things that we have lost to Naggarond during this war, along with the, I think, 5 Daemon Princes, and this will be the second Sorcerer Lord. But at the end of the day, you know, the losses otherwise have been relatively marginal, so definitely not what we would prefer, but not the worst thing at the end of the day. So we got that going on. We attack into Old Giant Woods. This is army, half army, numero dos. The other one struck out west, and there's just a little bit of stuff going on here, so no big deal. Should be able to smash this relatively easily. Do they get away? Looks like they do. They did not. Oh, they were PD anyway, so never mind. Actually, you get a Covenant or a Convent Initiate as part of PD. That's really cool if you go high enough. That's actually really neat. Or I wonder if you start with the Convent Initiate and then get a Master. I think you get a Master and then get the Initiate if you go high enough. Anyways, we lose some more Chaos Warhounds, primarily to our own fire, but not a big deal. We get to see a battle between Itza and Karaz-a-Karak. We've got a small squad of Saurus and a looks small space-wise, but actually a thick squad of Valkyries. So sacred on sacred violence going on here. And these are some of the special ones. So we've got Temple Guard, regular Temple Guard, but we also have the Slazkodal? I don't know. Fucking. These are interesting ones. They have the Ancient Halberd, which is an inherently magic weapon, and ×2 against demons, which is really cool. And I think they also naturally have fire resistance. Yeah, again, kind of like being the anti-demon scenario. So they're all going to get blessed up. We've got some Summon Earth power happening here as well. What do we have over here on this side? It looks like just blessings. Yeah, no other magic or anything coming out. Just a bunch of blessings coming out of these priestesses of Valea. I love that these have healers because you can roll them around with either your Valkyries or your what are the other ones? The other sacreds, the Rune Guard or whatever they are. Either of them tend to be very thick and resilient. Valkyries or the other sacred, not the third sacred. The third sacred tends to be a bit squishy. But the 2 thick sacreds, you can roll them around with priestesses of Valea, and as they garner afflictions, the priestesses keep them healed up, which is really fucking cool. Over here, we're gonna get some giant strength warriors, and we get steel slice warriors, and then we get giant strength warriors on the back half. So, weapons of sharpness on the majority of these guys is pretty wild. The issue is that there are way more Valkyries here than there are Saurus. And the attack density on the Valkyries is pretty crazy. I say the attack density on the Valkyries is pretty crazy. The Sauruses are 6 attacks per square. It's just the bite matters less than the weapon does. So I guess technically more attack density on the Saurus than on the Valkyries. What do the Valkyries have? They are... Yes, so they have the extra... And this kind of feels like bullshit to me. No, it does only affect damage, right? So it says anyone wounded by this weapon will also be struck by this, but it only affects damage, so... let's see how this goes. Bless comparison, shock, defense blur, reinvigoration, undying, enchanted blood, blood surge, and heroism. I think the shock. Some of this is throne based, and I don't really think any of this is throne based because he got the. Oh no, I think the magic resistance is throne based. Maybe. But anyways, so basically the Temple Guard hit harder with their actual weapons, and they have better attack density. But the Valkyries are very hard to hit, whereas the Temple Guard are not nearly as hard to hit. Valkyries swinging at like 15 attack value versus 13 defense value on the Temple Guard, whereas the Temple Guard swinging at 12 on this guy versus 20, right? 20, 21 in that range. And since they're gonna like wall up fairly cleanly, that means that it's unfortunately gonna go in the advantage. And I do say unfortunately because I'm kind of rooting for the Lizard Boys at this point, because I don't want Karaz-a-Karak to get worse, get a flank down on the side because there's just so many fucking Valkyries. It basically boils down to when the Temple Guard hit, they're doing a lot of damage to these ladies, but the ladies are just hitting so much more frequently than the Temple Guard are. And they just get cut down. Enchanted Blood, keeping people topped off so that, you know, like, this lady took a hit, but she probably only took one hit because of her high defense skill, and then slowly but surely her health is just creeping back up because of the Enchanted Blood, right? So, Itza sends 26 out there, loses 25, right? Versus Karaz-a-Karak, sends out 43, only loses 6. Does lose a Priestess of Valaya. I wonder if we can see... It was potentially replay bugged, so we might not be able to see what happened, but we'll try to keep an eye on the Priestesses real quick. Are they attacking? Are they on, like... Yeah, these Priestesses went the fuck in. That is a little surprising to me. They do have very high defense skill as well, but not high enough that I think they should be doing this shit. Yeah. Somewhat surprising there. It wasn't actually that one that got popped. It must have been another one in the line somewhere that got popped. Got one here. We've got one here. Yeah, I was just somewhere else along the line. One of the priestesses got popped. So, probably fine. There are only 35 of these Valkyries now, and the H1s, 2 H1s, might have some difficulty blessing all 35 of them, but it'll be pretty close because they're so tightly packed, right? Like the Valkyries have Formation Fighter 2, so they're 4 to a square, so they're denser. So 35 again just doesn't cover as much area as one might think it does. Anyways, we get attacked by Nagaron in a couple locations. He sends out a white mage, limp, crippled. Up against just a little bit of PD here. I say a little bit of PD here. A little bit of PD and looks like some... probably some routed marauders or something like that. And then a Corsair captain that we stole. I don't remember stealing a Corsair captain, but apparently we did. And this is just a good old classic... Let's throw a shit ton of skeletons out there and see how it goes. Just attacked into the Marauders are still around. The Barbarians have routed. Hey, alright. The White Mage drops. Yeah, I have a Corsair captain hanging out here with some Marauders. Where the fuck is that? Oh, yeah, I must have, like, enslaved mind? Or something like that? I suppose? Weird. And we get attacked in Godwoods as well. This is just Nagaron kind of keeping us honest. He sends a Corsair captain, probably from Old Giant Woods, before we put it under siege. He sails on over, and if we had not been putting PD behind us, if it was just him versus a single PD, which would give us this Marauder Chieftain and like one Ichthyid, then he might win. So it's just a simple way for him to try to keep us honest, and we are being very honest at this point. We have already been punished heavily enough, so Corsair Captain dies. We get to see the Bretonnian force attacking Spring Bay. And so now we know whether or not... Now we have information on whether or not we were correct in not just fucking attacking Bretonnia. I swear to God, if I had not broken my army into two, I would have just straight up attacked Bretonnia because of the quote-unquote negotiations that went down over this fort. Because I did all of the fucking work on Nagaron, and he just came in. Looking at it, I think it was probably a good idea that we didn't attack with the half army that we had there, just because we couldn't have put in all of the magic that we said we did, or that we would have wanted to. I think it would have been a close thing. He's got this heavy cav, and this heavy cav is pretty damn good. It's not as good as our heavy cav, but it does have some good effects on it. So, you know, there would be a decent battle there. The question is does all the rest of the shit matter? And these battle pilgrims definitely don't fucking matter. The long dead definitely doesn't matter. He does have Leoncor here. And this guy is really fucking scary and really cool, but he only has him with the crown that he comes with, right? So this is just a leadership buff. So he's not rocking any additional gear to make this guy super crazy or anything like that. So while he would be a pain, in theory, depending on what magic gets cast on him, he will die relatively easily. He's got the guardian spirits around. The question is this big old core of shit, does it matter, right? And it's a bitch ton of Grail damsels with a couple of Grail maidens. And looking through, they really don't have like a lot of gems or anything like that. And these aren't like natural communions, like they don't like sing, they're not auto communers. It's just a water one, glamour one, a water one, nature one. And without any gems or the ability to commune, you're probably not going to do that much. However, mixed in here are some other things, and those things are these Windmasters, which in theory could pose a big threat, but in reality, they also don't have any gems, so probably not that big of a deal. I think at the end of the day, had we just full sent what we had, we might have been able to beat this, but we would have been bloodied in doing so. And it would have been war against Bretonnia, right? Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but probably not what we would want in the current game state that we're at, right? If we had had our full army that had taken Nagaron, we would have stomped a mud hole in this, right? Like we would have, and I wish that had happened, because there was such an edge, a tone to the quote unquote negotiations that I was just like, man, I wish I'd sent everything here, because I would I would just straight up. I'd be like, fuck it, Nagaron, you get to live in Old Man Mountains or whatever it is. I'm fighting Bretonnia now. I would have loved to have just smashed this army. I think it would have been close with what we had. So this is what we had in Warshin. 425 units, 40 of our chosen knights, a decent batch of chaos spawn, a decent amount of horse archers. So just not as many bodies as otherwise we could have had, and also not as much magic, especially, I guess this was the one that had Marble Army in it, so that probably would have done well. We also had Army of Mist and Army Regeneration. Probably this army could have done it, truth be told, because it doesn't look like this army had much going on. I guess we didn't actually watch the battle. There's not really much of a battle though, because there's nothing here in Nagaron. Right? Like he sent everything out, right? And he's got lightning bolts and he's got, you know, some illusion spells and shit like that. He would have flooded the battlefield, but these guys are gonna fatigue themselves out and then we just kill everything. Right? Like I wish, because that's such a tasty amount of Grail Damsels and Grail Maidens and Wind Masters to kill. Like, honestly. It would have just been so nice to kill all of them. Anyways. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But it be what it be. We have an Exalted Hero, Melchiskang. The Runemonger has promoted into a Chaos Lord, which is nice. 6th gate, we get 4 blue, 5 pink, 2 screamers, and 1 flamer. 7th gate is unlocked. We get 2 astral pearls, 5 fire, 4 glamour, 6 air. We get a Bane Blade. We get the upgrade to the 8th gate, and we get a Herald of Tzeentch joining us. And with the 7th gate, we also get 4 blue, 3 pink, 1 screamer, and 2 flamers. So it's real nice. We're now at the point where we can get more than a single flamer in a turn, which is really, really cool. That is the highest that we will ever get. It will never go past 1d3 flamers, which unfortunately, I do really think that the 3d3, 2d3, 1d3, 1d3, I feel like that could be spaced in a different manner. I feel like this late into the game, getting 44 blue, you know, there's something to be said. I am a lover of symmetry. I wish it would up to 44 blue, 3d3 pink, 2d3 screamers, and 1d3 flamers. I wish that was like how it spanned out, because in my head it's like, yes, it makes 4, 3, 2, 1, yay! But that's neither here nor there, and you know, maybe that's too strong. But anyways, moving on. Unexpected event. We have a sectarian movement in the Endless Plane, which is annoying. We find a hidden lab in Bushford. Gain 4 astral, 6 death, 4 nature, and 3 glamour, and an astral serpent, which is pretty fucking cool. That's a nice little event. And we get 100% increased tax in Opaleth. So Endless Plane is going to be an annoyance. Old Giant Woods is breached. Bunch of patrolling. And the continuous promotion across the board. Let's talk about what we're doing real quick, and then talk about the game state as a whole and what our future immediate plans are. So we're going to be storming Old Giant Woods this turn. I expect Old Giant Woods to be close to what happened in Spring Bay, except we know that there were some things in Jab and there were some things in Old Giant Woods that we're gonna be expecting a little bit more resistance, but not much, right? Not enough that I think is gonna cause any real problems here. So this shouldn't be a big deal. Nothing crazy going on. We've got a Fog Warriors, an Army Regeneration, Army of Shades. Enough punch to pack here. Marble army coming out. That I don't expect major losses. I expect a couple more magic duels, because at this point, there's no reason not to just be as punitive as possible. Hopefully, hopefully we don't lose our Demon Prince or our Sorcerer Lord. Hopefully it's just Acolytes. We kind of tried to position as best we can for that, but if we lose something else, we lose something else. It just is what it is. Bunch of new money on new commanders, new units, a little bit on province defense across the board. We are continuing to do site searching into Nagaron's lands. Probably not the best of plan to do that on something like turn 57, and I normally wouldn't, but I communicate with the Nagaron was Cookies, right? And I talk to Cookies fairly frequently, and I've been talking to Cookies throughout this war, and I don't remember if he straight up told me that he hadn't been able to site search a lot, but even without, like, the impression that I got was that he had not been able to site search much. And even if I had not gotten that impression, just looking around, there's not a lot of sites that have been revealed in a lot of these locations. And sites can matter, right? Especially if this game goes for another 30, 40 turns. Stuff that we could find in Nagaron could end up being a really, really big deal. So we just found an Earthblood Seepage over here, getting our Earth income up to 15 per turn, an extra +2, so that type of shit's really nice. So we're going to continue site searching, even though we probably should. We've got a Coin of Meteoric Iron coming out, another Bloodthorn coming out, continuing to try to develop path boosters as we move forward. I'm trying to break into things like Staves of Elemental Mastery and Robes of the Magi, but these things are really difficult to break into without the explicitly appropriate paths, and it's kind of difficult forcing your way into them. So we're making some maneuvers and trying to kind of like develop our path boosting options as we progress further. Mostly recruiting normal stuff, more acolytes in a lot of places. Last several turns, we've been really trying to amp up the amount of forces that we have in both Namor and Cormark, in the attempt to make sure that we don't get blindsided if someone goes for a throne rush on us. We do have a nap with Karaz-a-Karak, but it's one of those things of like, for me, naps at the end of the game get to be less and less of a really strictly binding thing and more of like a gentleman's agreement. I have no intention of breaking her a nap or anything like that. That being said, I know when it comes down, like, it's one thing to just knife someone in the back when you had a nap with them. That's really bad form and generally frowned upon. It's another thing if it's like, oh, hey, it's turn 85 and you have one of the 4 available thrones that I need to win, and I just dropped a massive army on your throne, right? Obviously, people are still gonna look at that as bad form, but I feel like that is way more common because it's a finisher for the game. And so a lot of people will just be like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, right? But I'm not expecting that out of Kidzin. I want to be prepared for it just in case. Other than that, pretty normal shit. A lot of just minor things that we're producing, lightless lanterns, doing some more bowls of blood, preparing for a number of different things. We are moving some forces out to Endless Plain. Want to nip this sectarian movement in the bud as quickly as possible. Not a massive army or anything like that, but, you know, just trying to take care of stuff. We will be done with Blood 7 this turn. Blood 8 will take us another 2 turns after to finish off. So we're looking at turn 60, we will have Blood 8. We'll be looking at a new option. We have the Blood Slaves prepped and kind of like ready to start doing vampires, but I don't think, right, like, we don't have the preparation to actually do vampires. We need... Didn't we have a Death Blood? I thought we had a Death Blood that we had kind of prepped. We might not. It might be as simple a matter of... Oh, I think I know what our plan is. Don't we already have... Yeah, so we already have a Skull Staff, and we have our Ring of Wizardry floating around, right? So our intention is... the big issue is we're going to have to empower in death, and we're going to have to empower in blood. So I think over the course of the next couple turns, what we're going to do is we're going to empower in death, because that's the easy, safe one. Oh, yeah, wizardry doesn't affect blood, does it? Does it? Ah, wizardry does affect blood. We don't have to empower in blood anymore. Okay, so right, the plan is to just empower this guy in death, and then that skull staff on him, he'll be death 2. The Ring of Wizardry will death 3 him and blood 4 him, and then he can immediately turn around and throw out a Curse of Blood, and then the vampires come out, I believe, as death 3, blood 3, and you just need to put a skull staff on them, and then they can keep summoning more vampires. So I think we're basically prepped and ready for vampires. We are obviously not getting enough blood slaves to keep it going, but the hope is you know, maybe we throw some vampires at maybe like Umpholia or Ard, like, yeah, Ossense perhaps. We got a couple of different provinces. A lot of our provinces are starting to get pretty high in population. 24k on this random province. 26k on this farmland. Pretty good. That's the nature of scales for you. Godwoods would be just fine. Gnome Peaks probably would just be fine. So we have a couple of different places that we could target. Pop out a couple of vampires, throw them out there, send some wolves or something like that down to patrol. The vampires, once you get them set and going, thralls are perfectly fine as patrol chaff, but it takes a while to get the thralls up and running, so it's difficult to actually have them be the only patrol chaff. But we could send vampires over to Umpholia and start blood hunting, and as we get more vampires and more blood, we could then take the thralls and send them into God's Woods with more vampires, so we kind of save ourselves some either gold or gems as we go to daisy chain additional blood hunting provinces. We're never going to hit a like Khorne's way up here off the fucking map, even before Blood Vortex. So we're never gonna probably compete with Khorne in regards to that kind of concept, but I do think dipping into blood like this has been very quick and easy for us, so I'm not super worried about the opportunity costs that we're going to be losing. We've been making some Sky Metal Adepts on the backside, by the way. I think, yeah, we have one over here. I think we're going to make a couple more of them. Maybe like 4 or 5. These guys are actually pretty interestingly useful. They are old, but Earth and Astral, while we already have access to, it's not like the greatest, smoothest access. We have to random a 3, and then it's just 1. Same thing for like the Sorcerer Lords. We have to random a 3, and then it's just 1. So these guys are kind of like a better, guaranteed, higher version. Throwing Earth Boots on them, and then probably throwing like a piece of armor on them, a piece of body armor just to increase their HP, is an easy way to kind of like make sure you have a higher Earth. Obviously, we can still throw them into a communion, but Earth 3 really doesn't need to go into a communion most of the time. You can just Earth power and then do almost anything that you want to do with Earth. You can definitely do Marble Army, right? Earth 3 with Earth Boots, and then Summon Earth Power, and then your Earth 4, and then you just throw out Marble Army. And they can also decently easily, right? Because the same scenario, they'll be Earth 3, you Summon Earth Power, they're Earth 4, you spend an additional Earth Gem, put them at 5, and then take 3 gems to throw out Army of Lead. So you can do that pretty easily. Definitely something that we'd consider. There are other things that we're considering, though. We might not want to go specifically for Army of Lead. I really like the idea of instead having, honestly, Army of Bronze for the strength buff across the board. Sounds really, really good to me. But yeah, we'll see how that all turns out. So anything else going on? I don't really think so. Oh, right. Talk about the global state, right? We previously talked about Itza and Khorne pulling out of Itza. I don't know why that happened. I don't know if there's additional pressures or anything like that, but it basically turns now into a scenario where Itza is solo fighting Karaz-a-Karak. And we missed this. It was either here or here. There was apparently this. 7 huge rune lords with anvils. There was apparently a major fucking battle in one of these two. Either this turn or a turn or 2 ago. And it's apparently looking real bad for Itza, which is not good, because if Karaz-a-Karak just marches in here and takes all this land, 1, they will be threatening an additional 2 thrones, which is all they need to win the fucking game, and 2, it also just means that we have an immense... It basically means we have to fight Karaz-a-Karak, because they will have an immense border with us. And there will be little to nothing we can do about it if we do not... I mean, our options will be go further east and be a long noodle, go further west and be a long noodle, or fight the person that is clearly in front, right, will be the situation. Now, Itza is not completely down and out. We shouldn't discount them. I do still think they have the highest research, or if not the highest research, very close to the highest research. And we saw, just in this kind of like little exchange here, these guys are powerful, and Itza has a lot of really good stuff. It just has to be enough to go up against Karaz-a-Karak. When they are outnumbered, they are gonna get screwed. And this is a lot of numbers. So that being said, because of that, we are moving on Itza's underground territories. So we're attacking in Yellow Caves this turn, also attacking into Mile Deep this turn with the Bakemono Show that we have. Just a small party of Marauders and some fiery imps that we've respawned out of Caverns of Gold. I don't know if we will make it here in time, and we're not going to immediately attack Itzan Overland territory. But I do feel like it's likely that we will try to wrap up this scenario with Nagorond ASAP, and then turn our attention up towards Itza. If I'm gonna try to keep my finger to the pulse here. If Itza has fight in them, and they are going to fight against Karaz-a-Karak, then I'm not looking at jumping them and trying to make that more difficult for them. But if whatever loss they experienced over here has kind of like broken their power in some way, shape, form, or fashion, then I really don't want to just let the dwarves come in and take everything. Because that sounds like a fucking terrible way to... Like, as the game goes on, we're going to get stronger and stronger. Especially depending on what we decide to do with some of our gem plays, right? Like, we have a lot of death gems stored up. We have a lot of glamour gems that we're starting to store up. I have some ideas on what we want to do. I'm really looking at... I talked about the glamour stuff already. I'm really looking at Dreams of the Awakening God or Celestial Rainbow, actually. This is a bit easier to cast than Dreams of the Awakening God is for us, surprisingly. But we won't get to do that if the game ends in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns, right? I don't think we're that close to the game ending, but you never know, right? So, trying to be aware of that and make moves forward, and hoping that I hear stirs from the rest of the world in response to how much of an issue the dwarves are becoming. We share the biggest border with the dwarves, obviously, but there are other bordering entities. Nehekara still borders them. Nehekara is very small and weak. The elves still border them, but we haven't really seen much out of the elves. Khorne, I think, borders them over here. And I don't know about Bretonnia. Bretonnia is kind of the one out. But if the dwarves take all of this territory, then Bretonnia will border them. So, but at that point, if they take all of the Itzan territory, I don't know if it'll be too late by that point. So, let's check Dominion real quick. We got 1, 2, 3. Ooh, hold up. We got 1, 2, 3 because of the lab. 4, 5 because of the lab. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So not as big. I got really excited because I saw all these additional labs and I was like, oh, that's going to be a lot of extra, but it really wasn't that much extra. In relation to our Dominion as well, we've got a lot of cultists out and about preaching and sneaking and preaching and etc., etc. We're trying to... I do have a lot preaching in the territories around Itza as well, trying to prep our potential requirement of fighting Itza in that kind of vein. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.